All right, electric motor division section F2, F1, General Motors fuel oil section 5, fuel oil system F2 and F3 locomotive models. Description of the fuel system of the engine locomotive is independent, identical to each other. The fuel tank is mounted with each of the unit of the locomotive at the bottom of the tank of the two sump, the tank sump, and the supply sump, which are connected with the emergency fuel cutoff of the fuel pump. Draw the fuel oil from the sump line through the suction line with the suction filter. The fuel can be drawn with the supply line, sump within the emergency cutoff valve the open. After leaving the pump, the fuel is pumped. Through the centered bronze filter assembly of the injector. The injectors use only a power over the fuel pump through then the suppressor of the fuel oil lubricates cool. The internal mechanism of the injectors then can return to the fuel tank through an orifice sight glass fee figure 5.1. The use of the correct gauge rate of the fuel oil and most important for the detailed injector fuel oil specification reference for the engine maintenance manual. Filling of the fuel tanks. Fuel tanks can be filled on either side of the locomotive maximum rate of 250 gallons per minute with a tank fuel level. The gauge for the filler casting with preventing overflowing of the tank of the fuel should be filtered with reliable fuel filter before entering the tank. The fuel capacity each of the tank is 1,200 gallons. Do not handle fuel oil near the opening flame. Drain the fuel tanks. The fuel tank sump that has two draining plugs. The draining tank with a two special drill plugs and drain any water that has been settled in the tank sump by turning one of these plugs and parts away when water can be drained from the sump. The figure 5.1. Locomotive fuel tank sump. The fuel storage tank should be drained periodically to prevent excessive accumulation of water. The drain pump plug should be removed from the supply sump occasionally with the drain and sediment. During the freezing water, it is good practice to put about 5 gallons of alcohol in the locomotive fuel tank. The alcohol will set with the tank sump that prevents the water from freezing. If the condition warm, it is advisable to add alcohol to the fuel storage tank. The fuel tank oh, that's where we're at. Alcohol. Alright, fuel tank vents. 2 vents on one on each side with a 4-inch flamer. The rest are terminate outside locomotive. Fuck, I lost my spot again. Alright, centered bronze fuel filter assembly. The fuel filter consists of the 2 centered bronze elements and an orifice sight glass with a 60-pound relief valve with the sight glass that might be mounted on the right front end of the engine. Fuel pump being pumped into the engine pack with the both filter elements. Fuel manifold on the engine. The fuel enters the injector is filtered for the 3rd time with a small filter mounted to the injector body. The purpose of all the filtering protected with finely machined parts in the injector as the surplus fuel leave the injector to pass through the fuel oil filter of the injector body, which prevents the reverse flow of the fuel for the carrying dirt with the injector when the engine is shut down. The filter should be discovered and new ones used. The fuel oil then passes through the 5-pound sight glass, the 5-pound sight glass near the engine. Then return the fuel oil tank with the orifice to retard the flow of the fuel from the injector. So the approximately 5 pounds ahead of the maintained with the injector. Drop the fuel line with the glass empty glass that indicate with the engine is not received with the fuel supply of the fuel air entering the fuel line at any point on the suction side of the fuel pump will cover the engine to misfire and stop. As the air and the gas, the fuel system will appear in the glass in the form of the bubble, the presence of the bubbles while the engine shut down. The fuel pump is running. They indicate the air leak with the suction line. The bubbles appear only on the engine running at the injector, allowing the gas to escape with the engine cylinder in the fuel line. 60-pound sight glass should be fuel flow with the passing the centered bronze filter collecting enough dirt with the built up of the back pressure for 60 pounds should the occur with the relief valve will open the fuel will then pass the filters engine returning the fuel tank. No attempt should be made to run the engine until filters have been cleaned and changed. Injector. For information on injectors, refer to the engine maintenance manual. Fuel failure. Fuel pump is running, but the fuel does not show the 5-pound cycle. Check the following. 1, supply of the fuel in the tank. Emergency fuel cutoff valve. 3, the broken motor pump shaft, loose flexible coupling. 4, loose broken clogged supply line. 5, dirt lodged under 60-pound relief valve seat. 6, defective pump. 7, checking suction filter gasket of the air leak. 8, dirty suction filter. Electrical motor is not running. Check the following. Fuel pump motor fuses fuel pump switch. Main barrier switch contacted behind the engine for the control panel, instrumental panel, electrical connection to the motor, fuel pump, motor brushes. Alright, 1, engine control panel. 2, the suction filter. 3, the fuel pump water and motors. 4, the centered bronze filter inside gauge assembly. 5, injector. 6, steam generator fuel supply. 7, steam generator fuel return. 8, fuel supply to the engine. 9, engine fuel from the form. Engine. 10, engine emergency fuel cutoff pull ring. 11, fuel filter. 12, side gauge. 13, vent flame arrestor. 14, fuel tank. 15, fuel supply. 16, sump drain plug. And 17, emergency fuel cutoff valve. 18, fuel drainage pump. 18, fuel tank sump. 20, fuel tank. 19, fuel tank sump. 20, fuel tank water drain plug. Alright, section 6, electrical equipment.